Hello, my name is Omar Ampersad. It is November 20th, 2016, 11:57 a.m. in Toronto. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about a point in my story in which I'm suspecting that I was placed in a community targeting program officially. I do live in a condominium complex and I'm targeted in the community in which I live as a prostitute and some other suspected criminal activity, that none of which is true. I had lodged some complaints and I believe that was the start of my issue. Um, I do believe that my privacy has been invaded and still probably is being invaded, I suspect, inside my home as well, bathroom, bedrooms included. I do believe that a file was compiled about me that portrayed me as probably, I'm suspecting, a prostitute and someone who needs mental care. And other criminal activity, I'm suspecting probably drugs and so on. So as far as the drug goes, it's completely unrealistic since for health reasons, I just couldn't take them. So just as an example of how unfounded some of these claims are. It's not based on reality at all. In a lot of situations, it's based on situations where incidents where I'm entrapped into reacting a certain way, and these reactions are recorded and used as evidence to obtain warrants for mental evaluations. I do believe that recordings and pictures and so on, and lies and misrepresentations and deliberate misinterpretations of what I say and do to make me look a certain way, a criminal way, and label me as some sort of a criminal. That file has been compiled. So, and that file was used as backup to obtain warrants for mental evaluations and to get the police to come to my door. Um, there is an escalating factor that is apparent in this program. It starts at a certain point and it escalates. So there is an escalation here at this point from the condominium to my family and from my family into the workplace. This file, I'm suspecting, was presented to my family, and my family believed all the claims that was made, that things about my being involved in criminal activity, and believed that I was at the brink of some sort of a breakdown and I needed care and so on. So all the calls to the police about me placed by people in my living environment were probably part of that file as well. So it utterly convinced my family that I was involved in some sort of criminal activity, and I needed help. So I think that I'm suspecting that a member of my family, took the responsibility of taking care of me because I was living in their home at the time and trying to get my condominium sold. And it was in the market, so I didn't want to live in it while it was being done. So I was living at my relative's home at the time. I'm suspecting that the program that was being run in the condominium compound continued at that relative's home. And my privacy was being invaded and so on, and maybe, excuse me, recordings were made in my bedroom and presented to probably the police, I'm suspecting, to prove as further proof that I was a prostitute. Of course, I'm not a prostitute, just to make that clear, never have been, and don't intend to be, don't solicit and so on. So these are just ludicrous because I am an accountant by trade. So in any case, so my family believed the story and the file. And I think they added a layer to that. They've signed affidavits also stating that they suspected the same thing, that I was a prostitute, and also included that in the file. So, I think the decision was made by a family member and the community and the people from the condominium and probably some sort of an agency that they were dealing with at the time, that instead of criminalizing me, officially charging me, most likely what had happened was through the targeting program, sufficient information, misinformation, it doesn't have to be facts, it could be misinformation, lies, affidavits, and so on, that would give enough justification to get warrants or to get a charge on the books. The charge doesn't necessarily have to stand in court, but there is enough to lay a charge. So this is part of the targeting program to get to that point. So I think that point was gotten to with the help of a member of my family who decided to take part in the targeting. And instead of charging me officially, they decided to put me in a community program where the community would take part in controlling my activities. And of course, controlling my activities would mean that I'd have to be stalked, harassed, surveilled, and so on. Because the community then would take notes and pass those information on, make phone calls about me to the police, make phone calls to me about me to a team that I'm suspecting were put together in order to manage me. And there was a manager of that team who most likely was set up to receive information about me from the public, feedback. I think it went further from that point where the manager, who was, I'm suspecting, given the ability to also surveil me inside of my home with technology that's very easily set up these days and very cheaply done as well. I think the manager took the file that I mentioned before, and the family input, and tried me in some sort of a community court, not the official legal system, but the community legal system, a quasi community system that's used instead of the hard justice system. And instead of putting a real charge on the books, I do believe that the manager found me guilty. I'm suspecting of prostitution. And I think a fee was levied, and the manager paid that fee. And I think this was done with the knowledge of the family member that was participating in this program. The fee consolidated the belief that I was a prostitute. So now the community and my family and maybe somebody in the workplace completely believe that I was a prostitute. So everybody other than myself thought I was a prostitute. Of course, like I said, I'm not one. So in my mind, I was carrying on life as normal, knowing that I was not taking part in criminal activity. But I was getting harassed, I was getting ostracized, I was getting insulted, and treated as a prostitute, disrespected, and so on. So I went to the police about it and got all kinds of responses, including being told that something's mentally wrong with me. So I got no help in that avenue. So I believe that the person who paid the fee actually thought he had control over me, because then here I am, and I should have known that I was a prostitute. Of course, he believed that I was. So, and I would have known that this arrangement was made, so I would not talk about it. So I would go along with whatever agenda he had set forth. And this would, you can easily see how this could be used as a cover to solicit somebody. Because there you have somebody who's paid a fee and believing that I was a prostitute, and so why not get services from this person? So the expectation was that I would service this person I'm suspecting. Again, of course, I'm not a prostitute, so keep that in mind. So I'm carrying on life knowing that I'm not, and I was working as an accountant, an accountant at the time. I still work as a property accountant. So you can well imagine the harassment that would come about as a result of that. And I do believe that there are members of my family who knows about this, who participated in this, I'm suspecting, and did not disclose to me. I think the member of the family even went further and without my knowledge and disclosure to me, took documents to a doctor and got a certificate to have me mentally evaluated, which I never was. No member of my family ever took me to a doctor. They'd have to do so with my consent, of course, and they would not have gotten it because there was nothing wrong with me. I was never presented with court documents for a mental assessment, for capacity assessment, and I do have a right to refuse it if I was. But however it was done, and of course it was done fraudulently if it's not done without me and my knowing and disclosure to me and giving me the right to refuse, as by law I have. Um, However it was done, obviously fraudulently. Um, and if it's done through the court system, then there was misrepresentations made to the court in order to get it done. So if I was declared mentally incapacitated, then it would have given the family member even more power, and probably even went so far as to get power to make him think that he had power of attorney over me. I have never given power of attorney to anyone, any member of my family, anyone at all, ever. So if that was the case, then it's fraud. So anyway, that's an added layer to making me look mentally ill, and making people believe that any activity I would have taken part in, if it was wrong, if it was criminal, if they make claims that I stole something, I'm stalking, loitering, whatever it is the claims were, it would have been because I'm not right in my head. And there's this fee, so she's also criminal. So she's right at the edge. She's borderline. She's at risk. This is all done, of course, with criminal intent, because once you're putting in the community targeting program, the goal is to destroy. It's not to help you. It's to destroy you. So this is all part of the destruction of my reputation, of my public image, and all the stress it's caused. There's been quite a few health issues, major health issues as a result of the stress. So this is all part of the destruction of that's intended in the community targeting program. Now, there are people who's giving feedback, and I'm thinking that there is a voting that's taking place, a process of voting where the team or the manager is coming up with a certain figure. Well, 100% believes that this person should be put in jail, should be charged, should something should happen to her. We should punish her for this. And people are voting me. I'm not sure how that would be done. A line set up, a 1-800 line, I'm not sure. A website under a pseudonym, I'm not sure. And of course, information would have to be disseminated about me, so that'd probably be under a different name on a website, a Facebook account maybe. And I don't have a Facebook account, so it's probably set up under a pseudonym or a variation of the spelling of my name, where everybody knows exactly who the person is, but I will not be able to find it. So I do believe that there is a person in a workplace, there was a person in a past workplace who participated in this. I'm suspecting. And I think that the family has set me up to be monitored as a result of this. I believe that the mental incapacity declaration, however it was made, whether it was made in a official court or whether it was made in the community court, it's destroyed my reputation and my credibility, because all this information then is in the public arena, and I'm being harassed about it as a prostitute, as mentally ill, as someone who's constantly doing wrong things and has to be surveilled. This is all intentionally being done, and I'm being portrayed this way intentionally when none of it is true. So that's just one little part of the story I'm going to tell, and the next blurb is going to be the next step, because we are at a point right now where I believe that my life is in so much danger that I could be not in this world very soon. So I'm telling this story because I do believe it needs to be exposed, just in case something happens to me, because I do believe, based on what the things I'm hearing and how much I'm being stalked, the possibility exists. I'm not being paranoid about it. I'm being realistic about it. The possibility exists. Because if there is so much negative information out there about me, then it's going to rub people the wrong way. And you take somebody who's at the edge and really criminally minded, especially males who think I'm a prostitute, anything can happen. Talk to you another time.